You simply cannot love everything. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife, and today I am taking you through some of the book series that I'm probably not going to finish. I start a book series with great intentions, with the idea of finishing it out, with getting to the end of the story, with seeing the characters all the way to the end, and then sometimes something just happens that makes it not quite an enjoyable journey for me. Whether that is the writing, whether that is characterization, whatever the reason may be, sometimes I don't always see a series end to end. Of course, though, I am open to correction, and if I put a series on this list that you think maybe I actually should finish it off, please let me know. Leave me a comment below. Make your case. The first series up is The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. I've read the first one, and when I say I read it, I mean I got to about 100 pages and realised that everything was getting really repetitive. That the two main characters, Alexis and I think his name was Theo, they just spend all their time talking about food and going out to get food and wondering if the other person likes each other, and they never communicated their feelings with one another. I really hate the miscommunication trope, so I didn't go back into that book at all after I figured that out. But of course, not every book in the series is going to be exactly the same, so I'm not going to see miscommunication in book 6, for example. I might not see miscommunication in book 4, but I might see something that I really love in the other books, like Friends to Lovers, like fake dating, like forced proximity. I just don't know if I'm going to go back to it. Next up is the Hot and Hammered series by Tessa Bailey, and even though I only have one book left in this series, I am absolutely not going back to this one. I cannot stand Tessa Bailey's style of dirty talk. It really just does nothing for me, and I vividly remember listening to the first book in the series, I think it was Fix Her Up, and had the audiobook on while I was working, and just having to listen to Baby Girl 20,000 times a page completely turned me off. It was absolutely not what I wanted to see out of a romance book at all. And Tessa Bailey's writing has never really been my favourite. I've only had one Tessa Bailey hit from about 5 books, which I don't think is great odds for her. I don't think 20% is a great percentage for her to be sitting at. So this is definitely a series that I'm not going to go back to. Another series that I'm definitely not going to go back to is the Bridgerton series by Julia Quinn. I went in with such great expectations. I really genuinely did. I read the first book in this series, and when I got to about 75% of the way through, there was a marital rape scene that I was in no way prepared for, didn't know was coming, and I was so struck by it and how awfully it had been written and how awfully it had been dealt with. I just didn't want to keep going with this book. I didn't want to keep going with the rest of the series. I know that it's on Netflix, I know that it's super popular, and I know that if I do want to continue the story, if I do want to find out what's happening, I can just go to Netflix and load it up there. But as for the books, it's definitely a goodbye. A series that I might actually continue though is The Marriage Game by Sarah Desai. I did read the first book of this series, and I really did not like the male main character, Sam. I found him so arrogant and so cocky, and not in a confident way, just cockiness. And that's not something that I find a turn on in real life or in books. So reading that was kind of difficult for me to associate with, and was kind of difficult for me to enjoy the relationship in this book because I didn't find myself rooting for them. However, I did really love the Daisy representation in the book, and I know that that continues throughout the rest of the book, and I think that one of the characters in one of the other books is Irish and comes to America as a kind of a green card marriage of convenience type thing, which I love reading. So I have got a feeling that I might get a little bit better on with the other books in this series. I've just never reached out for them yet. Another series with great Daisy representation is the Modern Dating series by Alicia Ray. I really loved The Right Swipe, the first book in the series, which deals with online dating, with ghosting, and I really loved the relationship between Samson and Rhiannon. I wish I'd seen a little bit more of that in the second book because I didn't love the second book as much as the first. I think it's because I misrepresented it to myself. I thought that Girl Gone Viral, the second book, was about a couple who fake date each other after their meeting in a coffee shop goes viral, but it's actually a completely different story that I didn't connect with at all. And when it went down that different road that I wasn't expecting, I kind of lost a little bit of interest. But I think that now I know that it's not a fake dating book. I might try and go into it again. I might try and pick it up again. And I might go on to the third book in the series, First Comes Like. There's also a couple of series that have a prequel to them from my teenage years that I'm not going to pick up for a couple of reasons. The first series is the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer. I just think that my Twilight days are over, done with, buried. Let's move on and read something else. I'm so excited for everybody who read Midnight Sun, who enjoyed it, who loved it, who dips back into it now and then. But it's just not something for me. It's not a world that I feel this massive urge to return to. If I ever do want to read it, which it doesn't seem very likely, but if I ever do, I can get a library copy. I can get a copy of it on Scribd. I can find a copy of it from one of my friends. It's not something that's immediately calling out to me, so this is not a series that I think I'm going to see out to the end. Another teenage series that has a prequel that I'm definitely not going to read is The Hunger Games. I have absolutely zero interest in The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I know that it has an adaptation coming out this year, and I know that there's so many people who are interested in it, and I know that there's some kind of a fan theory about Katniss being related to one of the characters in this book. But I do not give a hell of a damn about a villain origin story. I do not want to know what made President Snow such a complex character. I don't want to know what made him turn to the bad side. I don't want to know about it. It is absolutely not something that I am interested in reading in any way, so I'm definitely just going to leave this one to the side. One that I've read quite a few of the books from, and I don't know why I haven't gone back to it, is the Romantic Escape series by Julie Kaplan. This is, as of now, an 8-book series which is set pretty much the whole way across the world. You've got books set in Brooklyn, in Copenhagen, in Paris, in Croatia, in Japan, in Scotland, and in Ireland. And I think that that's the reason that's putting me off. I get very picky about books that are set in Ireland, especially when they're not written by an Irish author. I get really concerned about, are they just going to play up the stereotypes that we've all heard of, that we all love potatoes and that we are all staggering around drunk all the time and that we only really got electricity last Tuesday? I really hope that that's not the treatment that this book is going to get, that we would see a bit of a more modern Ireland and that it won't be all stone walls and apple tart for breakfast. I just am a little bit concerned about how my country is going to be represented in the pages of this book. And I have a slightly similar worry for Scotland because our cultures can be quite similar and our cultures are often misrepresented and mistreated in the pages of books or in screen. So I'm a little bit apprehensive. I haven't read any of the books past the Tokyo Cafe shop, and I think it's because I knew what was coming on the other side and I just need to spike myself up a little bit. One that might surprise you, given that it is by one of my favourite authors, is the About a Girl series by Lindsay Kelk. I think this is one of her earliest works. I think she wrote the About a Girl's book maybe as her second or third novel. And you can definitely tell that because there was a lot of kind of awkward characterization and troublesome writing that I didn't necessarily love and that I don't see anymore in the pages of Lindsay's new books. And when I'm comparing the two, I feel like she has gone to a different level that I enjoy a lot more. And I don't know if because the second and third book in the series are later written, that maybe her craft will have been honed a little bit more. Maybe she will have found her way a little bit more as a writer. Maybe it's one that I'll go back to, but it's not a necessity for me right now. Another series that I've only read one book from, but I knew I wasn't going to go back to, is the American Royalty series by Tracy Livesey. This was the Pyramid Book Club book for November, run by Michelle, Lexie, and Monica. And I haven't seen their discussion of it, but I have a feeling that they have quite similar views to me, in that it felt very insta-lovey, it felt very not fleshed out. I didn't really enjoy the characters. I felt like I like smut and I enjoy reading smut, but it was every second page. And I do need to see a little bit more of a plot discussion and a plot development in the books. So if the second book is going to be anything like it, which I have a feeling it will be, I don't think it's something for me. And the final series that I'm going to go into with a little bit of caution is the Bergman Brothers series by Chloe Lees. I've read the first one and I didn't love it. I really hoped that I would, because one of my dear friends, Lily from Literary Lily, absolutely adores Chloe Lees's work. But there was something missing for me. There was just a little bit of spark. There was just a little bit of characterization. There was a little bit of representation of their Swedish heritage that I felt was missing. I didn't see it in the pages of this book, and I really, really wish that I had, because I loved watching characters sharing their backstory with the people that they meet. I love watching them sharing their heritage or their culture or things that are normal to them in their culture or the ways that they were brought up by their parents. And I felt like that was missing here. There probably was like a trip to IKEA where they got Swedish meatballs, and that was the height of it, but I wanted to see a little bit more. I know that there are 6 books in the Bergman Brothers series so far, and they're all very different, and they all deal with very different things. So I am going to think about whether or not to go into it. Those are the series that I am not entirely sure I want to go back to, but as I said, I am open to correction. So if you think that there is a series in there that actually I would really enjoy, please do let me know in the comments below. If you'd love to leave me a comment but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then just leave me the thinking face emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.